All right, we ready? All right, going live. All right. What is this? What what is this? I don't What are we doing? Oh my gosh, it's just been a few minutes. Yeah. I'm just glad we got one in July. Ooh. I don't think I have any Clippy. Yeah, there's been a lot of Clippy in the collective consciousness lately. It's like Windows Phone. Did you ever notice how like Windows Phone, everyone misses Windows Phone, but not until it's dead, right? Well, I went to see Black Widow with my kids, and I saw that she was using a Windows Phone in Black Widow. Megan is saying that they can't hear Doug. Uh, wow, I can hear you, but that doesn't mean Megan can. All right, so good thing I'm first then. I'm gonna go. All right, I got several Power BI things and one kind of special teams SDK thing. All right, so this one is a white paper, and this one is all around how we operate the Power BI service. So that's really cool. So Power BI has been around for six-ish years at this point, and I think it's not too much of a stretch to say, yeah, we got a lot of people say Doug
Yeah,
can't
I'm
hear.
guessing. Well, I wasn't saying anything worth hearing, but now they probably can. So just have someone hit it up. But
Yeah, if someone can let us know if Doug can be heard now, that would be wonderful. But I'm gonna keep
yeah,
going.
roll. You're good. It
Uh,
was just me.
yeah, I think they can hear me.
Yeah.
So, uh, so this is a little bit about not only the engineering and the development process, but also the tools and culture around how we operate the Power BI service, and a little bit around measurability of how we've been doing here. I think this is awesome, and this is about a 2.5 year improvement on metrics. So time to notify customers of incidents going from 110 minutes to 14 minutes. Time to acknowledge when incidents occur going from 11 to less than a
Mm.
minute. So that's really awesome. Okay, so Megan is saying that Doug can be heard. Thank you, Megan. And automated alerts enrichment. So that was a nice improvement. So needless to say, I think that we've come a long way in even just 2.5 years. This is not even going back to the birth of Power BI. This is going back to just 2.5 years ago and the improvements that we've made. And I don't think they can see my
By the
video now.
way,
They can
yeah,
just
there's a rate adaptive thing going on in the background for the Skype stream, so we can hear you. You're
no
still
worries.
good. Content's coming across. You are just a blue Skype logo.
That blue S looks better than, or the white S looks
I
better than I
missed
do
out with you.
anyways.
Keep
We'll just
proceed. It's
go.
been a month. We're shaking the rust off the internet, apparently. All right.
Yeah, I barely had to remember to use how to use my computer. I am using Windows 11 now, which I love. All right, so that's a white paper. Go check it out. All right, I love to see this one. So I've talked a little bit about over the last few months the I love how we're getting the live interactive. Here's all the crap that's wrong with the broadcast in the chat. This is awesome. I
What
love our
what
audience.
else is what else is wrong?
It's basically that Pete was acknowledging my that I'm a Skype
Yeah,
logo.
you
I love
are,
it.
and
Yeah.
but
So,
there you are.
all
You're
right.
back.
So,
Welcome. Okay.
hey, there's me. All right. So, I've talked about the scanner APIs and the enrichment, the admin APIs, and the metadata that brings to governing a Power BI environment. And these are things that have been in the need category for a long time that have been coming. And what we've added in public preview is who has access to what. So looking at it from a workspace level or from an asset level, who has access to what. And now that's being added. You have to tell the scanner API, sorry for the scrolly scroll, you have to add this to the to the uh, uh,
Can
to the
you zoom in
URL
a
here
little
that you
more? Just
want.
kind of like fill that, get rid of the date thing on the side, just so we can see it. There. Oh yeah, my ancient
There,
eyesight is now super happy. Thank you.
nice. So you basically have to add this to there. But what you're going to get is I have a workspace
Hmm.
and then some reports. Here's some JSON, and then I can see what users have access to this report. I can see John Doe has access to that report, and I can see he's an
So
owner.
Todd,
So
if you wanted to, since this is JSON, like you could in theory use Power Automate in order to query this stuff, bring it back, parse that JSON, and do things like notifications, ongoing tracking, update your, I don't know, maybe like your service management tool like ServiceNow or something with true service ownership. Hypothetically, one could automate governance with something like this.
I think hypothetically that's why this exists. Exactly. So I'm right there with you, my brother. This is really exciting. And notice that this is on both levels. So this user's object is on the report object. This user's array is on the workspace. So you're going to get because you can share reports with users and those kinds of things. And I can see that John Doe is an admin of the
Right.
workspace, but he's an owner of the
Just
report.
this is for me. This is the whole reason you guys started doing the shows because mind the gap. The GUI, there's an API, there's power something, right? So we got this
Yep.
layer now, and now you can tie it together with your business process. Because yes, there's probably a UI somewhere you can put this, but that's not where it needs to be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's not who needs to look at it. Like a lot of people, like, can you give me an admin interface? I'm like, I can, but that's not. Where should it live? Who should own it? Who should be adminning it? Where
Mhm.
should it be? And you just get it to that place, like finish. I don't know how else to say it.
Yep, absolutely. And obviously, I think you should expect this to evolve over time, and maybe see more of those things. And that's the message from us from the beginning. To your point.
Hmm.
Um, Now, what if I want to see what assets does a user have? That's going to be coming. Now, I can also imagine if you scanned the entire tenant and captured that in a repository like Azure Data Lake or SQL or wherever you want to put it, you could reverse into that, right? Because this is showing who has access to what asset, not what user has access to what assets, right? It's just a pivot. So, but that is going to be coming later this summer. Keep in mind this is a preview capability. So this is awesome. People have been asking this for years, and there's been all kinds of, maybe wonky ways to kind of get to this information, but I'm pretty excited about this. All right. Updated timeline for Premium Gen 2 GA. Let's do the TLDR down at the bottom here. September 27th. That's when we're looking at. This has been a long time coming.
Can they just
What's
put
that,
those
Doug?
up top? Can they? Why?
Right.
Why?
Well, that's like the whole thing. Now, I'm going to back up and show more of the meat here in the post, but at the end of the day, we're looking at September 27th for GA, for Gen 2, which has been
Thank you.
People have been excited about. All right, so what is being discussed here, though, and I know one of the things that people have been asking for as part of the preview, because it has been in preview, is the updated app for tracking of your capacity. So memory tracking for data sets, performance profiling in the capacity, overload analysis. So these are things that obviously you're going to need to effectively monitor your Gen 2 capacities from an infrastructure perspective, because that's once you bring on Gen 2 or Premium, that's one of the things that you need to do. You need to monitor your capacity, make sure you're not overloaded, make sure all your data sets are working, making sure you're meeting SLAs and all those kinds of things. This updated app is going to help you do that. So, and that's going to be part of the app. Now, looking here, this is coming a little sooner, still in preview, August 12th. Expect this updated app, which is referenced up here, but then GA on the 27th of September. So right around the corner, that's going to be here before you know it. School's back in session, and then Power BI Gen 2 is GA. So I believe we talked about this a while back, but the streaming data flows are now in public preview because this was back at the MBAS conference earlier this summer. We announced this, and now it's available in public preview. Streaming data flows. So as a reminder, streaming data flows gives you the ability to connect up to something like Event Hubs in Azure or IoT Hub in Azure, and enrich your streams and build a data set and then report off those things in real time. Now, this is a capability that's been there in Power BI for actually a long time, but you kind of had to do some Azure things. Doug, if you remember, we've been doing Power BI data set output and stream analytics in Azure for years. And doing real-time data sets, but that required a little bit of dev savvy, a little bit of coding type of stuff, and of course Azure Access. So now you have the ability to connect up to your streaming data sets from a Power BI perspective and build out augmented, enriched, transformed data sets in real time, which is pretty exciting. Now, this is called a streaming data flow, and it's part of, you do have to have a premium workspace. So kind of keep that in mind as well. This is a premium workspace feature, but I'm pretty excited about this feature. Notice it's even giving you like a data preview in real time, so enabling you to troubleshoot and debug as you're developing these data sets. So that's pretty exciting. I like that.
Awesome. I apologize.
Right.
I went away for a little bit, but you appeared to keep going the whole time, so it's all good. I need to I don't know if I need to reboot all my USB.
I keep watching the chat. Nobody's complaining.
No. Like it was just me. I think I was just like I was watching all the streams. I'm like it appears good, but I had lost all audio for it. So apparently I have to reboot all the USB peripherals because the computer's fine. It's like all the peripherals just keep dying on me. So I'm on my third camera today. All right, keep rolling.
This one's a pretty straightforward. Connected pivot tables for Excel in Power BI, now 100% available to all tenants.
Can I ask you like a question? Are you aware of, because I ran something this week and I wanted to unpack it a little bit, or find an article that unpacks it. Are you aware of the ramifications of applying rights management to Excel document sources? Like if you actually classify them with Azure Information Protection and you put encryption on the document, are you aware of like kind of what happens from when you do that to the
now, are you
Power BI connections?
Just to clarify your question, are you asking on the report side, or if Excel is my data source?
Excel is your data source, because let's say I deploy Azure Information Protection and I go ahead and I do it's on a site that's been classified but no encryption is enforced, and then all of a sudden I come through one day and I go, hey, I need to classify this document, and an encryption comes along for the ride.
Yeah.
Have you played with that at all?
I don't know.
I did the other day. Okay, and here's what, and I haven't documented it. I was wondering, so I'm gonna see if I can find some documentation, get back to the audience on it. Right. But it is interesting because what it did was it forced a reclassification of the Power BI report to match the data source.
Oh, that's what I was hoping it would do.
But there were odd things where when I tried to save it other places and stuff, it's like this entire rules framework activated that I just didn't understand. But Power BI was like, oh, like things have changed. You know what I mean?
Well, I as you're reading here that I've highlighted, basically what this means is if you've classified your Power BI data set as sensitive.
This is why I was asking the question, right? Because
that's not really what your question is.
No, it's tangential, right? And what was interesting was because my document, then it made me classify my data set. Now, then I started experimenting. I'm like, well, what happens if somebody does it on me?
I wonder, though, here, and you're seeing, the audience is seeing us kind of riff a little bit. I know that at least in our, it is possible to force classification of a data set, right? Now, how that's related to your Excel document as a data source, I don't know.
That way, I did test. It does not do anything to the downstream data. I was concerned if, like, let's say, because a lot of business data is in Excel, we know that, right? So somebody out there, you've been drawing from this source, and somebody comes along, or there's a new policy hits, and it requires certain levels of information to be, it's already encrypted at rest, which is what I was saying to people. If you have proper permissions and authorizations, you already met like an encryption standard by storing the damn document in Office 365 in the first place. So adding rights management only does a egress permissions addition with an authoritative wrapper, right? Like, so it's if people are like, well, I want it encrypted. It was already encrypted. It was already encrypted in Fort Knox and all these other things. Like, you didn't need that. Well, I need it labeled for DLP. It was already labeled for DLP because of the site collection, labeling. Right. So one of my questions to people is, why are you adding that rights management envelope? Do you need to, and why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Just from a security standpoint, because it does have other ramifications around indexing and all sorts of other things, right? There's ramifications to those choices.
One thing I do know is that Power BI has gotten very good at inheritance of these labels within Power BI.
Yes.
Right? So once you classify something upstream, the downstream things, unless I'm not thinking of any caveats, will inherit that, right?
Yeah.
Whether that reports in Excel or in Power BI or in the desktop, blah, blah, blah. I haven't tested the one where you call out. So
no, it's totally okay. I just want to put, because you brought it up in here, and I was like, man, I was meaning to ask you this question. But it's super interesting because it started to do what I wanted it to do, but I didn't understand it. So I kind of got to go. I guess my thing would be there's probably documentation on that, but the products do appear to integrate. They do appear to be aware when a downstream label gets applied, even to an Office document. Power BI is like, excuse me, right?
I mean, what I would love to see is an information or a label applied to an Excel document data source, and then that carries through to the data set, to the report, to an Excel pivot table, all automatically. I would love to see that.
It appeared to be attempting to do that, which is why I was. Like,
I can't confirm 100%,
and
but that would be what I would hope for.
I don't know if the entire chain is done, but they're obviously working on it, which I was excited about.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing here, and then we're going to hand it over to you, which is this is a good, as we discussed, a good transition for you. The Teams Broadcast Development Kit. So this basically allows you to, in Azure, tap into a stream from your broadcast and then do stuff with it in your pipeline. So rather than having to do a round trip down to the client. So this allows you to kind of stay in the cloud, lower that latency, and do stuff with your stream. I'm going to scroll down here. Here's what you can tap into: audio, video, SRT, audio, video, RTMP, and then there's a sample web portal and a sample meeting extension as part of this. This is an example of what that architecture looks like. Whoops, and there it is still. So this is rather exciting, I think.
This is terribly exciting because now I haven't tested it with, but the major on-demand webinar providers out there are allowed to like take RTMP feeds and wrap it. And you can do telemetry and marketing stuff. So in other words, what this essence allows you to do is to do a whole lot of other super interesting things with commercial grade solutions that support SRT and RTMP. Period. Right? Or you can do it yourself through, commercial broadcast equipment, other things that you may have. NewTek comes to mind, even though like we use NDI for this broadcast, right? And I've been like fans of NewTek for years and all the stuff that they do, both, open source in the industry and also just as far as, hardware goes. So anyway, what we're basically doing is allowing a lot more flexibility for third-party integrations, for in-house production integrations, you name it. There've been a lot of cheats for doing this, right? People who would just essentially like do what we do. Grab an outbound, composed feed, re-encapsulate it, use hardware to software, media encoders. Like you and I used to stream between St. Louis and Mini, right, with that Matrox device, right? So we've solved this with hardware level, catch and throw devices and all sorts of stuff. But to your point, every time you do that, you incur like latency, risk, all that stuff. So doing it close to wire, close to source is always best. And so this is great. That's I love what they're doing with this.
Back to physics still applies.
Yeah, fortunately, physics is here to stay for us from an overall standpoint.
As far as I can tell, forever. I don't think that's.
I don't think it is either. Okay, well, people couldn't hear me in the beginning, but I was bragging on Clippy that I had Clippy and Todd didn't. That's about all you missed when I was muted, was the clippiness of things.
Oh, you just had to bring that back.
And it is not a typo. This is okay. It is a typo, but it's the right content. It says July 2020, but it is not.
Yeah.
This is July 2021 post on What Up with Teams. So hot off the presses.
Or is this July part 2 of 2020?
Yeah, maybe 2020 just keeps is the gift that keeps giving. I don't know. On top of it, so I like that you can find a meeting location based on Microsoft Search. I don't know if you saw that one. So you can find a meeting from the contents that were spoken via search, which I like. Remember we had that meeting where we talked about the thing at the place at the people. Like you can now ask that intelligent question and get a response back. You can lock a meeting from additional joins. I know it's been meeting controls. If you were a serious like OCS Link Skype person, you've been frustrated, by lack of refined controls for a long time. It wasn't an issue for a majority, but it was for some, and therefore it's always a use case you got to consider. So anyway, more controls on that. The slide translate in PowerPoint Live in Teams is completely amazing. Have you seen this?
Yeah, this is awesome.
I mean, I don't know. Like I played with it just to see how it would roll, and it's really, 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 really good. And so, and then you also get the, obviously the pointer stuff and everything else for going on top of it.
Love it.
The meeting option now is on for auto recording. So if you're having a meeting that you're gonna want to record, you get like you part way into, can someone start the recording? Problem solved. right? You can now set the recording as a option, and it will just automatically, when your meeting starts, it'll start recording on top of it. The
Wonderful.
paging on the video gallery, which, okay. People want to have 100 and something, whatever. Just thousands of people, hundreds of people, like, sure, they're just all little H.264 streams, and you're going to aggregate them, and we're going to be able to make whatever the damn UIs you want. Just remember, it's bandwidth and math, so it doesn't cheat. When you enable and you allow these things, like, there's no cheating for how that comes down. So that's why I have you, like, and you even do it now without me yelling at you. You shift your camera down so I'm not catching your ceiling fan blades, right?
Yeah, you got a little
because
bit
there's 264 GOPS, the groups of pages, and if you're a video nerd, like that, these things matter. The more static. I have terrible lighting right now. Lighting should not be coming from behind me. I tried to balance it with the front, but I had my camera anxious. Anyway, so good video requires a little bit of work. Hey, if you love lots of video streams on it, you can now tailor background meetings to your organization. You can upload images in the team admin center or meeting policies, and everybody gets your corporate background. So if you want to celebrate like certain milestones, like a 50th anniversary background, or you have a few things for your upcoming conference or something like that, you can push those out, and they'll be available to your employees. Pretty cool. So the end user real-time telemetry for meetings, for call health and stuff, been around for a little bit longer, maybe internally to Microsoft, but it is kind of useful because if someone was having a problem, like you could have them pull it up and tell what's, read you or tell you what's going on, and you could educate some pro users on kind of where they're going. Some of the stuff actually is human readable in the sense that it might tell you like your coffee shop sucks, right? You know what I mean? Like your latency and your other metrics are not as bueno as could be on top of it. Related content for Teams meetings mobile. Okay, you've been a big fan of the Outlook web for a longest time, right? Like you are an Outlook web human as Todd Kidda, right? I have always been a Outlook full client, but this intelligent related content thing is a deal. Like it is if you are not using these features about like, it tells you just through, it just pulls together the right stuff from the right conversations. I can't tell you, like people schedule meetings all the time with me because I'm one of these corporate roles. People want to go to meet with me. And I know it was some thread that my boss had with that person who said you should meet with Doug. And I'm trying to figure out, because no one ever, how good are you at putting everything in the meeting body as an attachment? Some people are good at that. Others just are not. They just send the meeting invite off, figuring, because it might be important to them, but to you, you're just a participant. So you lose the context. That makes sense? Like context is king. When you're in a team, when you have a channel or something, you inherit context. Here you don't. So we're trying to get more AI and intelligent correlation so you get the context of the dang meeting without that person having to be good. And I like that on top of it.
Great.
Hard audio mute includes PSTN attendees in the meetings. Support for hit on Windows virtual desktop devices on top of it. Call transfer between desktop and mobile, and then a bunch more devices on Teams room updates and everything else that are rolling on top of it. So a lot of stuff.
So not to overlook or I guess undervalue the auto record option that you called out. Megan's asking, when are we going to do auto transcript as a premium option, which I think is a good question. So you give that's a really good question, I think.
So
not that
so right now, over time, I think you will see more options occur on the meeting, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I believe that one's being tracked in user voice.
Okay. Nice.
And I thought it was addressed on one of the community calls, but I'm not 100% sure. So
well, I've seen a lot of attention paid to the pre-meeting options over the last, I guess, 6 to 9 months.
It would not surprise me to see. I know that one's being tracked. I don't know where it is. If I can get a public statement on it, I will check. But
frankly, like Megan, I almost feel like that one's. I don't know which one I would want more, but apparently.
Well, here's my point: is now that they got the meeting recording options turned on, now they can add sub options to that, right? So it's sort of they can iterate through and do that. And I can tell you that we are the guinea pigs internally. Like sometimes you'll join a meeting and things will auto activate, sometimes they won't. Like if I invited you to a meeting, your meeting experience with me would vary. Like it just like as
Right.
Microsoft IT, tests with those of us who are in the beta rings, right? And they do that with customers too. Like if you're in the preview rings, you will be able to see more of these early features. If your production tenant is not, which I would recommend it not be, then I do recommend that you get a small license if you're if you're a reasonably sized corporation and you can afford it. Otherwise, you can sign up for a developer program, put it in the early adopter ring, and as long as you keep using the thing, we'll keep refreshing it, or you can spin a new one. But it lets you see the new features earlier from an adoption and management standpoint. So I could have sworn that was in the preview tendencies, but I'm not sure. So I'll double check that one.
Cool.
And if it is, then I will let you know. If it's still far out, then cricket silence equals I couldn't find anything out on top of it. There's just a lot of stuff around the developers can now configure their Teams meeting apps to use the main stage stuff. So there's all sorts of stuff around the development things on top of it. For it, there's some Power Platform stuff, app management things, Team for Education. Got some cool stuff around the Canvas integration on top of it, like group team assignments on top of it. It's been a huge. The breakout room stuff's been on top of it. Together mode for Teams rooms came in. Like I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Yeah. Look at the amount of stuff that it is just on.
This is the biggest Teams update I've seen maybe ever.
It's on a roll. The Windows 10 native notification, large meeting support, right? Went into Gov, and so Gov got a bunch of love on top of it, of things where it was at, like device management capabilities. My goodness, right? The only comment I saw at the bottom is someone's like, "Why are we rolling back to last year?" at the bottom. So we are not the only people to notice the post date. Okay.
Oh.
We're at 3 minutes left. I wanted to call out one because you and I really haven't done a show from Sense Inspire.
True.
On top of things, and so I wanted to call out that there was a whole bunch of customizations that emerged around Viva and Viva Topics, and so I know this one's a variable entitlement for people, so I try to go mainstream with the team stuff and then come on this one. If you have not paid attention to the Viva stack, you really should. Particularly those of you who have a history with SharePoint and Search, or who were entranced at all, like I was, with the workplace analytics capability stack. There's a lot happening here, and it's going to be a massive investment area across learning, topics, everywhere else. I've started to see, I was showing one of the guys who works with me this morning, how topics has started to, we have this, I think you and I showed one time, Corey Buzzle and I built out that news service using the Graph API, and you put it into a Power App, and we programmatically generated news pages, right? So we showed that commercial solution, published it to GitHub. We trained on it at one of the SharePoint Saturdays in the Twin Cities, and we said to people, hey, here's how you can basically let people in a structured manner create news pages around like win wires or like company happenings and stuff, because people don't make nice looking news pages all the time, but if you do a layout, you can get a Power App, weld these two things together, and have this cool news service. And you use that, Todd, today, still probably as part of your MTC story submission, right, for customer work and engagements that you do. But have you gone out and looked at one of your stories recently?
No, I haven't.
It's inflated with all the Viva topic stuff. Like your story gets dynamically inflated with the people, the content, the keywords. So like there's this, industry clouds, like the cloud for healthcare. So I went and searched the MTC news repo for like cloud for healthcare. And all of them have been activated, all those words relevant to the MC4H, the cloud for health, the acronyms, everything. And when you click on it, it shows up the documents. It has properly located the internal team sites that are relative to that, right? And it has properly, with AI, nobody has created this topic, identified the key marketing, sale, field, engineering, and education resources, and created this entire page. Like, here's the people, here's the content, and here's the related sites. And we did nothing. We typed in the word in the article. Someone said cloud for healthcare. Someone's like, well, I wonder how I get involved in the cloud for healthcare. Click. The topic card flies open. Hit the destination page. Amazing, right? And so, but there's extensibility on top of it, right? And so they have this whole thing around the integrations they're doing on top of, Viva overall, the integration, the topics, the indexing, the ways to bring data in. So I just wanted to point out to people, like, don't miss this one, because it's, in the old days, we used to have SharePoint search people. You and I grew up on SharePoint, right? I mean, we really did. You even more as a SharePoint developer, like, for KL, like on top of the real engine and the core on top of it.
Right.
But they used to be like, some people still have them. I'm not, I have friends of mine who are, but they're like the search administrators, like the back end knowledge stuff. Remember, you could like do your own special pages, and you could inflate
Yep.
results, and you could do all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing, that was inherently exclusive in a lot of ways because you had to have a super smart, dedicated human being to go do it, right? Well, if you look now at like all the Azure Cognitive Search, where you can feed it 1,000 pages and it'll come back with like a summative 4-paragraph summary of those 1,000 pages based on conclusional stuff, we're essentially taking that stuff that we've shown at the erector set level, we're turning into an actual finished product that does all that stuff that an intelligent search administrator with promotion, intelligence, correlation, and stuff, and it's all ambiently in and tied to the employee experience and the knowledge graph. So it's a fascinating initiative with a lot of R&D, IP, and stuff behind it. And I know we're like 1 minute over, but I really would encourage people to go explore topics and where the Viva stuff is going. Your entitlement to it may be variable, but I just think it's a fascinating evolution of taking that from something that tons of people had to put a whole lot of intelligence into, and it's an example of the evolution where now it's kind of baked into a product, and you can inherit a lot of those years of research in a finished service. So at first I didn't know where we were going with it, and the more and more I start to see and play with it, I think it's something that people should be paying attention to.
That's awesome.
So a little forward-looking, a little tactical around teams. I got some security stuff hopefully coming up soon, but you should really go check out Alex Simon's blog. He made some announcements around the Azure AD stuff. Verified identity keeps moving forward. I don't have enough time to cover everything. We'd have to do hours and hours. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. People are back from vacations, and people are working. That's my observation from what's going on, right? So, all right, well, we are 2 minutes over, and that's a wrap.
Good to be back.
For an Office Flash Friday. We squeezed one in on the almost last day of July.
Oh, well, Doug, it was great to do this with you again. And by the way, we'll have to touch on this sometime. And I've heard this from others. Christopher's commenting on the licensing and the confusion, so we may have to touch on that.
I am happy to unpack that. Right?
Yeah.
Steve Wynn was on with us a while back, and he said he would come back and talk about this with us. So maybe what we do is we just sort of unpack the licensing and the rest of it. Somebody did a post for it last time, the first time when it came around. But yeah, that's
That'd be a good conversation.
I mean, I think that's important. I mean, it's important to know, like, well, how is it licensed? What is included? Why would I make this investment?
It doesn't matter how cool it is unless you know how to get it. So.
Yeah,
Megan says thank you and welcome back. Thank you, Megan.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, I got nothing else other than everyone have a fabulous weekend. And Todd and I are going to go, and my plan for this weekend is it's a little less hot in Minneapolis. I'm going to go barbecue. So that's what I'm going to do.
Nice. Oh, do you have all your new stuff set up?
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah, no natural gas line run for my snooty new grill, but everything else is moving forward.
Okay. All right. Well, have fun barbecuing. All right. Well, have a good weekend, everyone.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.